It's a big, noisy universe of stocks out there. Welcome to Goodbye or Goodbye. Our goal to help cut through that noise to navigate the best moves for your portfolio. Today, we're detecting turbulent and optimistic investing trajectories in the aerospace industry. Joining me here to discuss, Don Nesbitt, FM Investments Senior Portfolio Manager. Don, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Julie. It's great to be here.
So let's get to it. Northrop Grumman is your buy stock here, the one that you're recommending folks take a look at here. It's been actually pretty volatile last year if you look at the stock. So let's go through why you like it here. First of all, let's get to what they're saying in terms of sales and earnings growth. There's a lot going on in the world right now, geopolitically. Is that what's helping fuel their growth?
That certainly is helping. Although even without recent events, the stock has had a history of consistent earnings and sales growth.
And what has that been driven by then? Is it just sort of global military spending? Is their biggest customer in the U.S. government, or are they more sort of diversified?
Well, it has been the U.S., but as we see, given the recent geopolitical events, and many of the European countries are also now looking at their defense budgets, looking to spend more. So we expect Northrop Grumman to be a beneficiary from that. Also, they're boosting up in AI efforts there too, because of the technology that they're involved with. Also, they have a space division, which is growing and is actually profitable at this time.
Interesting. Okay, so then let's get to sort of what are the indicators of future growth, right? They've got a strong backlog, they've got free cash flow. So what does that tell you about how things are going to continue to go?
So this company has been, from an operational basis, very positive. And their repurchase programs, they're putting more of the free cash flow from their operations back into shareholders' hands. They've had dividend increases over the last 20 years. The stock is a dividend aristocrat. And the backlog order looked very good, and we expect this trend to continue.
For people who don't know, what does a dividend aristocrat mean?
Dividend aristocrats are basically companies that have consistently raised their dividends over the last 20 years.
Gotcha. And so that's one of your other points as you look at it. Not just does it have that consistently rising dividend, but also at what you say is an attractive valuation here.
Yeah, so Northrop Grumman right now is trading about 17.5 times future one-year earnings. Compare that to the S&P, which is now around 21 times. So you've got a little bit of a discount there. When you look at its long-term growth prospects, FactSet puts Northrop Grumman at about 22%, versus we're talking maybe a 12% for the market. So this slight discount to the market in terms of valuation, but better growth prospects.
And then specifically that dividend yield is what, at about 1.7%?
Exactly, and as I said, they've been consistently increasing this. They've also, when they buy back shares, that's similar to a dividend payment.
Right, returning cash to shareholders.
Exactly.
We always like to ask folks what the risks to the upside case are, and in this case, you know, I asked sort of about diversification. You know, could they be overly reliant on government contracts?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Its strength can also be its weakness with the over-reliance on the government. However, you know, they've had a steady business with the government. The second thing is, being in the high-tech area, they could, you know, suffer similar to catastrophes or problems with their products, like our next.
Yes, like our next one, which we'll get to in a moment. And I should mention, by the way, I believe you hold shares in Northrop Grumman?
Yes, we do.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so let's get to that other one that has suffered some setbacks. Perhaps no surprise, we're talking about Boeing here. And just that they've seemed to sort of, I don't know, not domino, but they haven't gone away. They've been very persistent, and that's reflected in the shares here. So we've got the management shakeup now happening, and we don't know who's going to be running Boeing a year from now.
That's right. And if there's anything the market hates, it's uncertainty. And you see this time after time with stocks. A management change initially, that's uncertainty. So the new management's going to have to come in, prove itself before investors become less fearful.
Anybody on your wish list to run Boeing?
Not in particular. They've also had a shakeup at the board level, so I'm hoping that you know, those industry experts could find the right person.
Yeah, that things will stabilize here. Yeah. Also, when we're looking at that here, Moody's downgraded the company's debt, which is perhaps another headwind.
Yeah, certainly credit issues is an indication of quality. And right now, the Boeing is not a high quality name, and it's never good to have your credit downgraded by an agency.
Right, and sort of on a related note, this is far from a dividend aristocrat like the last company we were talking about. They don't pay a dividend.
Exactly. They stopped paying their dividend in 2020 with the pandemic, and they haven't resumed it since. And right now, they're in no position to actually resume that.
Because the earnings are not in good shape because of everything that's been going on.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, they've had a couple back-to-back quarters of negative earnings. The street is looking to maybe return to positive earnings in the third quarter of this year, but that might be suspect, and it won't be until next year that we're looking for full swing back to positive earnings for the year.
Gotcha. Just like we talked about risks to the upside for Northrop Grumman, risks to the upside case. Risk to the downside case here is that investors, maybe say, okay, everything's discounted in the shares already, and we'll look ahead, and that maybe if they do appoint a new CEO, that could help matters.
Exactly, and I think before this conversation started, I would preface it by saying I may be a buyer of Boeing in the future. It's just how long. I think for right now, they're operating under this cloud of uncertainty, and that's grounding the stock. And until we start seeing positive earnings, positive affirmations in their business, the federal regulators are out of their hair. One of the other things that's happened after all this is they've riled up their customer base, a lot of the airlines. So the thing is, though, they are a duopoly along with Airbus, and they will come back at some time.
Yes.
But whether that's 2 quarters or 2 years, I don't know.
It sounds like it'll take a lot that could turn the goodbye into a goodbye. All right, let's summarize what you're telling investors, Don. So you say you would buy Northrop Grumman. It has robust sales growth, strong free cash flow and backlog, and that attractive valuation, dividend aristocrat. I just love that phrase for some reason. And you say avoid Boeing. It faces operational uncertainties amid that management shakeup, production problems as well, and of course the overall uncertain business outlook.